My first day up here. Be patient with me. Our opening gong. We join with the other UUs in the tradition of inviting the gong 3 times. Once in remembrance of those who have lived, built, and nurtured this congregation before us. Once in appreciation to all of calling this home today. And once with anticipation and hope for those who will be part of this congregation in the future. Our opening words are in your hymnal, number 445. Please turn to responsive reading 445 in the gray hymnal and join by reading the words in italics. The womb of stars embraces us. Remnants of their fiery furnaces pulse through our veins.
We are as the stars, the dust of the explosions cast across space.
We are of the earth. We live, breathe, and live in the breath of ancient plants and beasts.
Their cells nourish the soil. We build our communities on the harvest of gifts.
Our fingers trace the curves carved in clay and stone by forebears unknown to us.
We are a part of the great circle of humanity, gathered around the fire, the hearth, the altar.
We gather anew this day to celebrate our common heritage.
May we recall in gratitude all that has given us birth.
I love that. Now we will light the chalice. Larry, is that okay to have you do that? Thank you so much. We hallow this time together by kindling the lamp of our heritage. Please stand and join in singing our opening song, number 163, For the Earth Forever Turning.
Sing we
Good morning. It is a Sunday. Whoops. Hope I don't break anything here. There we go. There we go. August 2nd, 2026. My name is Kathy Mitchell. Kathy Baker and I are your service leaders for today. We want to welcome everyone joining us online and in person to the Umpqua Unitarian Universalist congregation. We especially welcome those of you joining us online and those who are visiting for the first time. Everyone, please stay for coffee, conversation after the service so we can all get to know one another better. We begin our service with the acknowledgement that our congregation rests on the unceded lands of Indigenous people, including the Cow Creek Band of the Umpqua tribe. Their name graces our congregation and the river that flows through this land. We make this land acknowledgement in recognition of the Cow Creek Umpqua, the Southern Malala, the Yonkala Kalapuya, and other tribes who have been forcibly displaced, yet who continue to live, lead, create, and belong here. May this acknowledgement lead us toward repair, relationship, and right action. As Unitarian Universalists, we think for ourselves, and we honor how life experience shapes what each of us believes. Unitarian Universalism is its own faith tradition. We come from radical roots and a long history of people who have sought a faith grounded in freedom, reason, and love. We are united not because we believe the same thing, but because we share a commitment to seek truth, practice compassion, and build a more just and loving world. Our practices differ, our languages for the holy differ, but the tradition we share is real, a faith shaped by history, covenant, by conscience, and by community. I don't have any announcements. Does anyone else have announcements? Oh, wait, there are announcements. The announcements are that next week we have a guest speaker who is auditioning for our pulpit, and he will be speaking. After the service, we'll be having a social time at our home. A social time at our home, which is a mile away from here on Calkins Avenue, and there's directions. And if you have questions about the directions, we can answer those questions either now or next week. The other thing is that it's good to carpool if you can, because there's limited parking where we live. So, any other announcements? Okay. Much appreciation goes to our staff, Genevieve and Jake, and to our ushers, Dean and Diane, and to our greeter today. Thank you very much. In our community today, there are many children and adults, housed and unhoused, facing illness, hunger, and without shelter. Acting in compassion for those in need, our service to the larger community is to collect your donations of food and money for the Fish Food Pantry. Our church offering will be later in the service. The words of our affirmation can be found in your order of service. Let us say them together. We come together to renew our spirits, to open our hearts, to remember the strength we find in community, and to shape a more just and loving world together. We now take a moment to hold what we're carrying into this day, the joys that have found us, the worries, griefs, and longings that travel with us too. If you'd like to light a candle, you're invited to come forward and form a line to the left. When you share, please say your name and please keep your words brief so everyone has time and space in this circle of care.
Hi, I'm John Asham, and I had the joy of talking with a congregant from years past. Judy Robertson called me and said hello and said she remembered everybody, misses everybody, and we had a good conversation. And I asked her for permission to give her address out to anybody who wanted it, and she said sure. So if you'd like to write her a letter, I do have it. So.
Good morning. My name is Jack. Oh, okay. All right. My name is really Jacqueline. I am here unaccompanied by my partner today because she's at the hospital once more being probed for, I think somehow what goes on in her head. So I ask you to think of her, give her a charge of peace. She's been there since 9 o'clock. And the other thing is, I think you all know how much this church and this group and this coming together means to me. And I want you to know each of you is personally part of that. I look forward to you. And I have dreams for us. I'm hoping we can rise to them.
Hi, I'm Michael. I have 2 candles that I want to light today. One is yesterday my wife and I went on a hike that was it was absolutely glorious, and the views, it filled my heart with so much joy and love. I just wanted to share that. And the second candle is for my dad. Tomorrow will be the 13th anniversary of his passing. So any thoughts, I would really, really appreciate.
Good morning.
Okay, my name's Carol, and I'm going to light a candle of appreciation and
I think my battery's dying. And I have a very special candle today for my lovely daughter, Jennifer Call, whose birthday it is. And I'm going to light a final candle for those who may have kept some concerns deep within their heart.
Please rise as you are able as we sing the Spirit of Life.
We're supported by this community's gifts of time, talent, and treasure. Your support is what fuels our congregation's mission and keeps the flame of justice, community, and love burning brightly. If you're a visitor, please be our guest and let the basket pass you by. What is given now is received in appreciation of the support of our shared hopes and values. And now we'll sing our response, From You I Receive.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
It's my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Reverend Stephen Lansdale. Landale, forget that S. Following 11 years as a Unitarian Universalist church minister, Reverend Landale has been privileged to serve as a hospice chaplain. He lives in Eugene with his wife Heather, daughter Belle, and 2 cats. He helped Heather launch a new business, The Joyful Vegan, which they continue to have, I believe. Yes. And Heather and Stephen love returning to the Umpqua UU.
Thank you, Kathy. It's great to be here. Let's see if I can, there. Is that working now? Very good, thanks. Yeah, actually, yesterday I asked Heather, so are you coming with me tomorrow? She said, of course. Love being here. Offer a meditation now in words and then in silence. You may want to take a deep breath, uncross your arms and legs if that feels natural to you, sitting upright yet relaxed. These are the words of Denise Levertov, a wonderful poet, and they are found in our hymnal, Web. Intricate and untraceable, weaving and interweaving, dark strand with light, designed beyond all spiderly contrivance to link, not to entrap. Elation, grief, joy, contrition, entwined, shaking, changing, forever forming, transforming. All praise to the great web. A silent meditation. Blessed be. And now we change the order of service a little bit, and we invite you to open your hymnals to number 21 if you wish, or imagine it'll be on the screen, and rise as willing and able, and join in singing For the Beauty of the Earth. I didn't pick the cover for the order of service. I'm glad I didn't because someone found a pink caterpillar. pink because it's been eating a pink flower. What a great example of interdependence and connection, influence going both directions. You are what you eat. I love the hymn we just sang, full of gratitude and wonder for the love which from our birth over and around us lies. Just think about that for a moment. The love that was around our birth. Everybody loves it when a baby is born. That love is still around us and above us, even if our parents have passed on. The love is still there. The mystic harmony, linking sound and sense to sight. For the joy of human care, sister, brother, parent, child. And then some words you just don't hear, or even hear a sentiment about them much anymore. For the kinship we all share, solidarity, kinship, for all gentle thoughts and mild. It's just lovely. It's from a different age, but we could use gentle thoughts now. Very, very much. I'll be preaching about the seventh principle in particular, for the respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. I'm going to read a little bit from this. This is from your hymnal. You might want to open up to the We the Member Congregations page. It's about 4 or 5 in. You don't need to, but if you want to look, there's some parts I think are skipped over quite a bit. For instance, the beginning, which is in very large print. We, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote. So I think it's good to have, I think of these words, these principles, the story behind them. Congregations came together, probably with more than a little bit of debating, committees, subcommittees, revisions, maybe some arguments, but came together to affirm and promote something that in the end really is beautiful. And then at the end too, this is the bookmarks of all this, and I think this is part of the interdependence message. Grateful for the religious pluralism which enriches and ennobles our faith, we are inspired to deepen our understanding and expand our vision. As free congregations, we enter into this covenant, promising to one another our mutual trust and support. Our mutual trust and support. So we've inherited this covenant. I think in Unitarian Universalism, there has been celebration of covenanting, which is not the same as having a creed, saying we covenant together to affirm. We covenant together to love, to support in different specific forms. But we also inherit covenants. It's kind of a no-brainer, but we are so focused sometimes on the process of covenanting, which I have to say is beautiful. When a congregation goes through a mission-creating exercise, I find it's often the energy from the exercise that's most powerful than the words that live on. But we do inherit them. There was a sermon at the General Assembly many years ago by Reverend Dr. Rebecca Parker, who was the president of my divinity school at the time, Starking School for the Ministry, and she preached about inheriting covenants, and it kind of hit me later. I thought, why does this feel like a radical message? Because we don't talk about the inherited covenants as much. One thing you do very well, though, is beautiful. Your opening, almost the first words here, is a call to remember those who came before us in this tradition. Those are here now, and those who will come. I don't hear this as an opening for services very much. And what a great thing to ground yourself in. It's not just about us. We've inherited things. People invested themselves in this community. People had dreams. And we inherit that and get to carry it forward. Kind of a lovely thing. And I'll focus now on the 7 principles. I'm going to focus on the first and the 7th. And again, it's we covenant to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And then the 7th is respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. We are here to affirm and promote respect for this, awareness of it, treating it with honor. Those first and seventh principles are often the ones people remember. My friend Dan Goss in Oakland has even said, if those are the ones everyone remembers, maybe we should just set aside the others, because everything kind of comes from them. There was a UU curriculum years ago called The Two Pillars of Unitarian Universalism, and the curriculum had a picture of two pillars, the first and the seventh principle. The fifth is a keystone. So they're all important, they're all part of it, but in a lot of ways, the other principles flow from respecting the inherent worth and dignity of every person and respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. I'd also like to say these two principles are arguably creedal. In other words, they're, I think, statements of belief. It doesn't really make sense to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person if you don't believe that the worth and dignity of every person's inherent. Now, some do. Actually, William Schultz, who was president of the UUA, later became president of Amnesty International, he preached a really good sermon or lecture at the UUGA, General Assembly. And he said he didn't think inherent worth and dignity was inherent. And he cited as evidence the way people were treated around the world that his organization, then the Amnesty International, sought to uphold. And he basically said inherent dignity and worth is something we grant to people by how we treat them. It's a different perspective. But for many of us, carrying the sense that it's inherent, it's there, is what calls us to protect it. And it's very similar to, I think, Christian understanding and Jewish, we are children of God. And by the way, speaking of heritage, Unitarian Universalism didn't spring out of the ground. They're from two different Protestant Christian traditions, Unitarianism and Universalism, that changed over time and grew to expand other faith traditions, but we have that heritage. And so we're here on Sunday morning because of that heritage, not on a different time. Hymns have a lot of Christian roots, have been changed. I think it's important to remember that. That's part of our history too, part of what we inherited to have this. So the first and seventh principles, can everybody hear me okay? As I was speaking a little more quietly, are arguably creedal. And then the seventh, I think, has something extra special. It could have just said the interdependence of all existence. And I think it's helpful sometimes just to focus on the separate words. When they're words we say a lot, they kind of become its own thing. But to break it down and say interdependence is one thing, and the web, they go together. But the web, that's a metaphor. It's powerful. And I would say it speaks to our religious imaginations. So saying we are children of God speaks to our religious imaginations, kind of imagine ourselves as children of the great source of life. Something a lot of traditions have, I think more strongly than UUism, is embeddedness in story. So freedom and justice is one thing, but Exodus, going to the promised land. I mean, Martin Luther King had such power in a lot of ways because he was echoing and building on things that have been spoken about and sung about in hymns for centuries and gave it power. Recast the American situation. In fact, a lot of American history could be seen as Exodus, religious freedom in this new land. Exodus from slavery and oppression, Jim Crow, all of that. So imagination's really important to us, religious imagination, because the things that are unseen, the most important things in life, aren't necessarily logical. We need we need poetry, we need our imagination. So I really want to focus on this web imagery. I don't know how it got in here. I had a divinity school professor who didn't like it. It's like, where'd that web thing come from, I love it, and it speaks to something. And one thing I want to point out is when we're talking about a web, if we envision ourselves as living in a web, the web goes in all directions. And it's not always flat. A web can go this way, but a web can also go other directions, down, up, around. I posit, most importantly today, living with ourselves with an awareness of being in a web is radical. Commitment to abstractions, I find, and I love that we have justice and democracy and things like that. They don't go as deeply. And I find in lots of organizations' mission statements, I've been part of companies, it sounds great, but it doesn't lead to change, doesn't get in deep. But an image does. An image is kind of a story of what life is, right? A theology is a story of what life is. It's a web. Interdependence is going both directions, right? Something affects some other part of the web, it affects me. Something I do affects other parts. Most clearly, the adjacent parts of the web to us. But the ripples go out and can be felt. Spiders can feel, movements far away. That's how they know the fly is there. And history. The web also connects us, maybe you could say it's four-dimensional, but we'll say three, with what came before. We feel the reverberations of what has come in the past. And the more we honor that, the more hope we have that what we do today will have reverberations in the future. I really believe there's some sense of hopelessness in our country today because we've become so disconnected from the past. As shared, I'm a hospice chaplain, and 14 years now, and I've learned some questions that might be my secret sauce in certain situations. And one is to simply reflect back what I noticed about a person. Like, you have remarkable resilience. What a great sense of humor you have. Boy, that's helped you get through hard times, hasn't it? You have such a light about you. I have no doubt you have brightened the room and brightened people's hearts. It's such a gift just to observe something. And sincerely, can't flatter, you can't say if you don't mean it. Really see something, such a gift. But then I have a question often. Who taught you that? Where did you experience that comes so naturally from you now? Interdependent web. And I'm shocked at how majority of people I ask this hadn't ever asked themselves this question. And then it's amazing how empowering and beautiful it is when they do. Wow. My grandmother was like this. Actually, there's resilience, at least 3 or 4 generations of women in my family. We laughed a lot in our family. Mom played the piano and we all sang around it. That's the good old days when things like that happened, before phones. So it's amazing what simply taking in somebody is, reflecting it back, and then inviting them to explore. And I find, why is this so helpful to a person, especially in their last stages of life, to realize, wow, this goes back generations. This isn't just me, right? Some people it is kind of. Some people it's like, I don't know, nobody taught it to me. And then I would be like, there's something inside you. Like, there's something spiritual going on for you to have that without it in such a rough upbringing, for instance, or something. So, and really connect. This is part of the interdependence between past and future. If in our last year or two of life we realize, oh my gosh, some of what people appreciate about me or some of what I've enjoyed in life was handed on generationally, it's like, wow, when I'm gone, some of who I've been, how I've impacted people, is going to live on too. I almost never talk about that with people. You can just feel it. Oh, it's a lovely thing. So history is really connected to hope. Again, this is all I consider this kind of part of the web. And it's different. We are really, really, really taught to see things as linear. And even even a little bit of what Martin Luther King did, look, there's a progress, this idea of liberal progress towards a better land. We think of apocalyptic thinking as, things are awful right now. Here's all the signs of the age, and everything's going to go awful, and God's going to take a certain subset of people, and all stuff's going to happen. But there's also kind of a positive apocalyptic, this idea that we're going to reach this shining city on a hill, we're going to create heaven on earth, we're going to create the beloved community, and then it's just going to stay that way. And it's all linear. And I feel like sometimes we're like racehorses who have blinders on our eyes. Like when racehorses literally, they don't want them looking to the side. To run quickly, faster than the other horses, you only go forward. And I feel like we're kind of like that in a lot of ways. We're so obsessed with the end result. It's focused. Now, I want to say, this is very useful in a lot of workplace situations. You want to focus on the end. You want to measure your results by what things are at the end. But it's like taking over everything. We're so focused on the end result that we don't realize what's happening along the way and going out in different directions. I'm going to give an example from a recent conversation I had with a close friend going back to middle school. I was to say high school, but he goes back further. He's approaching retirement. Lucky or hardworking duck. He's going to do this at age 62. I'm a little jealous. He has worked in really executive positions within state government, Department of Ecology for a state. And he's feeling hopeless because things he's built up over decades are being dismantled. And by the way, it's a Democratic government who's doing it, just kind of handling things sloppy and stuff like this. So he's really frustrated. It's just like, now all my job is to protect my department, shield them from the changes. It's all these things he built up. He was really feeling hopeless. And then I think, it's good training as a hospice chaplain, kind of said, but you're such a good leader. Along the way, have individuals benefited from your leadership, learned from you? And he was just like, yeah. I mean, you can't lead that well. He's supervised. He's trained people. And he's helped people see what a healthy workplace looks like, how to work towards goals, but do it in an effective, integrated way and respect one another. And then he told a story that kind of shocked me. He said that one of his employees had an ailing relative across the state, and she was not in a healthy relationship, healthy marriage. Her husband didn't want her to go visit, so couldn't take the car. It's kind of a risky thing to do. And my friend Dave said, here's my car keys and here's $200. Go across the state and see them. It's pretty remarkable. And he hadn't thought about that in a while and talked about it. So I just feel like what happened with him when he went from just focusing on the end result and saying, geez, it wasn't that different when I started, it doesn't discount all that happened. And even organizationally, something that went really well for a while may have been replicated some other place. I experienced this with the church I led in Rhode Island. Big membership growing, things started to go downhill, but for a while, like if the light is shining for a while, it doesn't disappear because it ended. Like that light's still shining, right? So this linear framework, oh my gosh, now I see it. It's just like I see it everywhere. We think of goals, outcomes, the path ahead, and the language, the way forward. We're always thinking forward or up. We're climbing the mountain. We're going forward. This is always the good thing. It's one-dimensional, literally. It's like we're living in a platform video game, like Mario Brothers. Like now that I kind of thinking of the web, it's like that, Mario Brothers going up those ramps. He's like got one goal. Like we're living one-dimensionally. Like the only way through it is forward, or getting kicked off and dying in the game and come back to life. I'm going to offer a political example of this too. And please don't hear this as necessarily advocating, saying in some this was good or bad or anything. Afghanistan. U.S. withdrew militarily from Afghanistan, and I think there's been broad agreement on the left and the right. This is one of those long, pointless wars, right? 20 years, servicemen and women killed, children losing parents in the war. And what for? The Taliban is back, right? Doesn't look that much different than when it started 20 years ago. It just feels like it's completely accepted. One thing I never, ever, ever hear in the news is that for 20 years, a whole generation, a large segment, the female population of Afghanistan, like the majority in the cities and then somewhat in the rural areas, had education, freedom, 20 years. That doesn't necessarily say it was all worth it, but my calculus, keeping a small military presence, even if you stop the Taliban for coming another 5 years, that's 5 years of good living. 20 years where at least the men got used to seeing women as equals. I could look us up online on the way down here. They had like 25% of the legislature was set aside for female candidates. It's just stunning to me. I was like, wow. I mean, it was really in law formally, much more than I realized. Of course, it wasn't followed everywhere. But girls went to school. They went outside. They could talk to a male acquaintance without fear for their life. 20 years. So my point is not, yay, good for us being in Afghanistan. My point is we miss a lot when we only look at the outcome. Here was the situation, here was our goal, here's the outcome. How did it measure up? A whole generation of girls and women lived there. It's a significant achievement, even if it didn't last forever. Personally, a relationship. If a marriage or a relationship that you thought might last forever doesn't, does that mean it was a failure? Does that mean the days or weeks or months of years where it was mostly or often joyful or loving and people were blessed by the relationship? Like sometimes you think like people don't know what's really happening behind the scenes. Somebody presents cheerfully. It can be a problem, but also even people in a flawed or somewhat unhealthy relationship can still be a blessing to others. And it doesn't change. That's not all taken away. But we suffer so much because we think life is a linear path and we're measuring results to goals and where we were. It's a web, right? It's about reverberations. It's not about clearly achievable goals all the time. It's about what was happening. Was it positive? Was it loving? Were people being lifted up? Were they being torn down? That's the web. And once reverberations go out, they can't be stopped entirely. And something we see in politics and in our lives, we have this insane idea of being able to control things. Like, for instance, a war, like Iran. Unforeseen consequences rule the day. How long do we have to determine that we can't foresee what's going to happen? Some things we can, but it seems like it's always more unforeseen. We start a new relationship ends, but then we're living in a new place, and that whole new place opens up new possibilities to us. And then we look back and say, well, I guess I was kind of meant to come to this place. It's all unforeseen, good or bad. Unintended consequences rule the day. So given that, it doesn't mean we shouldn't set goals. We shouldn't strategize. Some situations we should, of course. But if it's unintended consequences, then maybe we should be thinking about more, what reverberations are we putting out? How are we approaching things? If we have a horrible strategy, but we approach it mindfully, kindly, courageously, the overall reverberations are going to be positive. If we have a wonderful strategy, but we're stepping on people to get there, if we're, and I think this happened politically on the left, if we sideline people, if we cancel people, if someone's canceled because they're not pure enough or like said something really bad or maybe still has some harmful beliefs, we cancel them. Guess what they do? They go to the strands of the web that haven't cut them off, and they go more strongly. There's been a lot of people who could be under the tent of the left who have gone to the right. And now we're like, we welcome people in, keep those strands, and maybe practice a little forgiveness too. So we're not perfect. So this introvert, so if it's true that most things come out in unintended consequences, and we're in a web, not a linear, it's pretty confusing. It's like, how do we live like that? And I would say mindfulness and harnessing your intuition. If we're in a web and things in the past impact and they're going in all directions, it's more than our neocortex can handle. There's got to be some deep unconscious knowledge where those things can be assimilated. And there's at times where you just know. Like I felt like I just knew I should be a minister. I couldn't explain it. And then years later I was like, oh, that's why. Like some of the most important decisions we make are deeply intuitive. Now, we have to separate intuitive from impulsive. We feel it in our gut. It may just be that we haven't eaten enough or something. But there is a deep knowing that's educated, but kind of a lot of it's below the surface. So I think it's so important to say, well, how can I harness that intuition? Mindfulness, sleep, exercise, eating well, spiritual practices, and taking care of blockages in us. So movement, literally, healing wounds, trauma, working with trauma, all those holistic health things help us make better choices that we can't understand in the moment, and also just help us have good reverberations and be drawn to people who have them, right? When you're in a healthier place, you're drawn to health. And that's a lovely thing. I wrote out a lot of stuff here. I know I'm skipping some of it. That's it. And back to the web again, interdependent web. And I apologize if you wanted to hear things just about nature and taking care of the earth. The interdependent web is often summarized as taking care of the earth. And of course, that's an outflow from it. But even taking care of the earth is kind of a one-way thing. Like, saying we're part of an interdependent web of all life, of which we are a part, is different than saying God gave us the earth to take care of. God created all this stuff, and then us, and we are stewards over it all. And it serves to serve us, right? Take care of the earth still comes from that tradition. It's good to take care of the earth, and it's good to be good stewards. But this is a different theology. Take care of the earth is a one-way thing. It's not interdependent web. It's not mutual. And I think we miss that with seventh principle. I think we over-associate it with just ecology. This is a human ecology as well. This is like bigger and different. That does lead to taking care of the earth better. But it's not only that. Does that make sense? The hymn we're going to be singing in a little bit, it sounds along the ages. Might be an unusual choice. And I have to say, talk about intuition. This hymn just kept going through my head, and I'm working on this sermon. I was like, this isn't a sermon about history or religious history. This isn't a sermon about religious traditions. But I realize those are the strands of the web we often ignore that you are holding up at the beginning of your service. And while we're trying to live with awareness of the web, there's like something shining or something beautiful about certain reverberations on the web feel really different, feel like they really wake us up, help us feel connected. Spiritual, you may say it's of God or of Goddess. It's just, there's something special, and that's kind of why we come here, I think, to be more in tune to that, I hope. Coffee's great and everything, too. Fellowship, all it's good. But I think we do, and it sounds along the ages when we sing that. I invite you to think of that. It's like there's something going through history that takes different forms and different expressions, and centuries later we go and judge the words that the people who felt this something used to describe it. Oh, they were so, bigoted, whatever, they expressed it this way. Okay, well, maybe they were. But does that deny that they felt something and in their flawed ways expressed it with words that aren't perfect, as we do today? So it sounds along the ages that there's something going through different religious traditions, Athens, the Greeks. By the way, it's like back in New England, we know what we're talking about. The Concord sages, talking about Emerson, Thoreau, the Transcendentalists. They get a little special place in this, in our tradition. And I think there's something beautiful, and it is like music. It sounds along the ages. Again, I feel like when we're talking about this stuff, there's a lot of reverberations, vibes, vibrations, music. That's how this stuff works. And I don't think we ever create entirely new vibrations. I don't even know if we ever have an entirely new idea, right? We're building on things that come before. So then the question becomes, well, if we're not creating something new, maybe we should be focusing on which of the vibrations coming to us do we want to amplify? Which do we want to harmonize with so people hear it differently? Which do we want to extend? So there's a lot about being in tuned to what's around us, what came before us. I'm just going to help this along a little. Winds up being much more impactful than saying, damn it, I'm going to stop this and do this. You might achieve something with that, but it's short-lived. Yeah, so those are questions I put to you about awareness around the vibrations of the web, being part of a web, interdependence. One thing I'd say for my hospice work about that is I think anybody doing this kind of work, if you go in with the idea of how can I help this person, your capacity is limited at 50%. I try to do this work, I come in with what can I learn from this person? And then it's mutual, and we're learning and we're experiencing spirit together, interdependence. So I'll end with that. Thank you, and I think we have some time to talk a little bit. We're at 11:30, is that okay? And then have our closing hymn. Anybody have a question or thoughts about this topic?
How thoughtful, how my brain's just firing on all cylinders right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
As you were talking, I was thinking about my son and I went to London last summer, and every second we were there was amazing. Of course, I'd never been overseas. And one day we had an Uber ride with a taxi driver who was an Afghani man in his late 30s. And he wanted to talk. He wanted to talk about Trump and the United States. But he told us that the years that the United States had a presence in Afghanistan were the best years of his life. And he had daughters, and they went to school. And when the United States pulled out, they had to leave. It was just too violent and scary, and so that was really interesting.
And good they had the option to. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, thanks.
And thanks for your words about mindfulness before the service, too. Let's do that. Thank you. It's easy to have simple narratives. It's tempting just to say this is all bad. We're doing this for the wrong reasons or whatever, but then say it's mixed. And maybe there were some good things that happened then. Doesn't mean we'll do it the same way again, but yeah, thanks.
Thank you for a very thoughtful sermon this morning.
You're welcome.
I had to think about, though, my childhood living on the farm, and we had 2 horses, plow horses. Brownie and Blackie. Now, I bet you can imagine what color Brownie was and what color Blackie was. And they were just the opposite. Brownie had a wandering eye. Whoops, I lost it. And Blackie was a bigger horse, a stronger horse. But when you put him in the field, it was Brownie that led the way. And Brownie, no matter how hard that I would pull on the two, Brownie would have her.
I think we need that.
Yeah. You got a pretty good speaking voice if you want to just speak out. I think it's. Oh, okay. Of course, thanks. Interdependent web goes to those who are online. Thank you. I had my blinders. Didn't think of that.
Thank you. Anyway, no matter how hard I pulled on those horses and how strong that Blackie was, the big horse, Brownie wanted to do her thing. And at the end, we'd start out and we'd be so straight, and Dad would be so proud of me plowing. But about halfway through, Brownie would decide she wanted to go this way. And we would have these crooked paths that go around and around and around. And Dad would come out and look at him, and he'd say, "Joe, what were you drinking when we..." And of course, I was just a kid. So what did I know? But that path stayed that way for the rest of the season until the next year. And we'd go out and you could see the wheats or the oats growing, and they would be in that weird pattern that would go around. And we loved it. Us kids loved it because it was different. It was something that spoke to us in a very different way. In the fact that when we went out and had to pull the milkweeds out of the wheat or the oats, we got to hide in a different spot because we couldn't look straight down those straight linear rows, and we could get in the curve and hide from each other. So it gave us an extra thing. So listen to you talk about that continuing light.
I
was
think
so powerful, so thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. I think it's a great metaphor for life. Like, it ain't a straight path, is it? John Lennon saying, life is what happens when you're making other plans, so. And those twists and turns made play possible, right? It's great. The twists and turns of life are what invite surprise and play and resourcefulness. That's what I get out of that. Thank you.
Your talk made my mind go spinning in all different directions. I really do appreciate it because it activates it. I was thinking about your word apocalyptical and positive and negative. And I'm a teacher, and the connection that my roundabout way of making this connection is if it's positively apocalyptical, and I never really considered it as being
apocalyptic, yeah.
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 It could be utopian.
Right.
And it could be, a lot of people would view it as unrealistic, and they're more leaning towards negative apocalyptical and evolving into dystopian.
Right.
So then when you went to mindfulness, I'm going, okay, so I need to work on delivering the message to my kiddos. Let's be mindful of what we are doing so that we can gear more towards a positive apocalyptical.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Merlin.
Hi, Merlin.
And I was a teacher too. And I had a father that grew up on the farm. And he went through horses and steam tractors and gasoline and the whole thing. But one of the stories he told me was about how you work with horses. He had, they used to plow with horses, okay? And so he had two horses. One was a very large horse and very lazy. And he had a smaller one, was a real go-getter. And he found out by putting those two together, he could plow straight rows. So it depends on how you put the energy together.
That's nice.
So,
I like that. And it helps if you're in a place of acceptance rather than judgment to do that. This is this one's nature. That's that one's nature. Let's see how they can work together. There you go. Yep. That's it. Right. Right. Okay. Kathy, how should we go from here? Should we sing the closing hymn still? Okay, we'll still sing that. It's 187. Sounds along the ages.
It sounds along the ages, soul answering to soul. It kindles on the pages of every Bible scroll. The birds sang it, from morn to lips it rolled, and prophet tongues outrang it.
Bear with me just one moment.
Of Wendell Berry. For the love and the work of friends and lovers belong to the task and are its health. Rest and rejoicing belong to the task and are its grace. Let tomorrow come tomorrow. Not by your will is the house carried through the night. Blessed be and amen. join in circle.